We're back, and you're listening to Executive Leaders Radio, broadcast from Gallagher Benefit Services in Mount Laurel, New Jersey. This is your host, Kelly Meerbot from You Loud and Clear Incorporated, with my co-hosts, Robert Petcove, Pepper Cratch, and Adam Steele from Arthur J. Gallagher and Company. We have a great lineup. It is my pleasure to now introduce you to Tom Johnson-Medland, CEO of Lighthouse Hospice, who's going to share with us now how his grandmother's death affected who he is today. Hi, Tom. How are you?
I'm good, Kelly. How are you?
Good, good. Tell me about Lighthouse Hospice.
Lighthouse Hospice serves the three-county area, Camden, Gloucester, and Burlington County of New Jersey. We take care of patients that have a terminal diagnosis and their families, regardless of where they are placed, whether they're in the home or in a facility. We will bring a social worker, a hospice chaplain, a home health aide, a nurse, volunteers into the home, and we will provide care for the patient and their family. We will get medicine into the home and also durable medical equipment, whatever they need for the end-of-life diagnosis.
And how did you get involved with Lighthouse Hospice?
I answered an ad in a newspaper in 1997 after I was ordained to take a job as a chaplain at a local hospice in Mount Laurel. And 2 years later, Lighthouse Hospice called and asked if I would come and work for them.
And you were telling us in the green room that your grandmother's death as a child was part of a psychological resolution that you draw from today. Would you speak about that?
Sure, absolutely. I think, as we live our lives, there are a lot of things that happen. We have this whole outer experience of our life, and somehow I believe and feel very deeply that the experiences get jammed into our cells somehow. Our experiences turn up over and over again in our lives with a desire to be resolved. So my grandmother, my mom, she dropped over in the Acme when I was a child, and 3 days later in the hospital still, my grandfather, Papa, had to make the decision to take her off life support. So I think at an early age, the ideas, the notions, the experience of death, and some of those serious, complicated decisions people make got a part of my cellular resolution, and I've been working on that ever since, I think.
Yeah, I mean, death is a scary thing. People don't want to talk about that, and this is what you live your life with. So how can you help, how do you help people come to a psychological resolution with death? Yeah,
in the work that I do, it's a couple different levels. I think the first level is in setting a really good example on the process of therapeutic intervention in your own life. So I try to set a good example to my staff of what it means to deal with your own issues. And then at that point, helping to give them a platform where they can take the ability to deal with people's issues and organize it into a structured format that can happen over and over and over again. Because we have a lot of patients we take care of. We want to deliver end-of-life care the same for every patient and family. So somewhere you have to standardize the inner experience and standardize the level of care that you provide. So that's for me very, very important.
And where did you grow up?
I grew up in Bucks County, Pennsylvania, out in the farmland.
Okay, and what did Mom and Dad do?
My mother was a seamstress for most of my childhood. She made dresses and fixed things in the home. And my dad worked for Union Carbide making straws, and also had his own house painting business and worked for a couple of house painters.
Cool. And did you have any siblings?
I do have some siblings. I have an older sister, Karen, an older sister, Ruth, and a younger brother, Glenn.
And if they were in the room right now today, what would they say about their brother, Tom?
They would say that I inherited the family sense of humor that we all have, and that also no matter what I fell in, I ended up coming up smelling like roses, because they thought everything that I did worked out. Yeah.
Robert?
So tell me, Tom, what was it like growing up in Bucks County? What'd you do in your off time out of school, and what was important to you back then?
Yeah, absolutely. Growing up, everything was about being outside for me, being in the woods, hiking, fishing, trapping, and then being involved with groups of people who like to do similar sports of camping and being outside. So youth group and church were important to me. Boy Scouts was very, very important to me, and after school activities were all important. So spending a lot of time outside gave me a vision, I think.
And a lot of people do those same activities and don't do what you call yourself as a servant, which I agree. Do you feel it's a combination of the outdoors along with your grandmother's intuition, and that kind of brought you to where you are today?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that I've found over and over again as an image in my life, particularly in midlife, is that being outdoors, there are certain times when you do a lot of work to climb to a certain precipice or a vantage point, and when you get there, you somewhat forget everything that went on before, but you realize that you're standing on top of all your efforts, and then you can look out in front of you from that vantage point, and you can see the lay of the land. You can see what the world looks like that you couldn't see when you were climbing up to the top of that mountain, and that, I think, feeds people's visions. And I don't think everybody gets that who's outside. I think there are certain people who catch that vision, and it eats its way into their cells, and they carry that with them. So vantage point's important.
And then on a daily basis, do you find yourself helping you as a little kid, the grandchildren out there and things like that? Do you understand the work that you're doing and how important that is for these young people?
Yeah, I think so. I think that whole pathway of working on the inner child is something that everybody stumbles upon at some point in their life. And I think when you recognize that you are carrying with you your life's issues and you are seeking a way to work them out, you are also then role modeling for other people, regardless of their age, because a part of the process of life is resolution.
So basically you model the way for your team and for other people.
Yes, it's very important for me to make sure that, for example, the chaplains, that they stumble upon through experience and through hard work and through trial and error, what are the core issues of dying for the dying person and their family that are spiritual, and for the social worker, what are the social issues that are critical for the patient and their family. And then somehow they have to take that experience and formalize a checklist that they can help people work through during that time, so that every person who dies can die the most beautiful and the most wholesome death that they can.
Tom, in the years that you've worked at hospice, have you noticed that there's a shift in consciousness going on at all?
Sure, there's a huge shift in consciousness in healthcare in general right now. Everything is based on micromanaging down the units of cost, and then also improving the quality of care, and there's a lot of regulation and compliance that's going on, regardless of where in the industry. And right now, I think the largest dilemma is, this is a time when people could lose sight of their true goal. This is a time when people could lose sight of their true mission, which for us is always about taking care of dying patients and their families, taking care of each other and the company, and doing what we can to take care of the business. It's very easy to forget that if you've got so much going on that's you're tabulating results and you're making sure that this cost is cut. So this is a time in the industry where people have to go back to their core values, say, why did I get in this? What was I called into this field for? And how is this, how can I shape against the odds what's going on?
Pepper?
Yeah, Tom, you're a highly intuitive person, but yet you've spoken about how important it is to make sure that people are being cared for, and also you like to make sure that things fit. So how do you take those two components and deliver them in your business?
I think the way that we've done that at Lighthouse Hospice, and I say we, is we take a huge team approach. We have 2 levels of leadership at the hospice. The first level is the executive team or the leadership team, and then we have a core function team where we've taken members from each discipline and members of different teams and brought them together so that we are constantly going to them as a listening post to hear what's going on out in the field, what's happening at the bedside, and then also to hear what's happening in the industry. And then it's a process of layering, of taking all of those expectations and finding a way to find dependencies that you can cascade into each other so that you follow through beginning to end, meeting all your goals. So you have to be a little OCD, somewhat of a project manager, and then also at the same time you have to have an understanding of human nature and be able to work that into a program.
Now, you've also taken those experiences, and I know that you are a experienced writer. You've written 12 books and many articles. Do you use your writing as a meditation, or how do you see your writing?
Yeah, my writing is actually how I find myself. I mean, you write something down. For other people, they paint, or other people, they have different ways of expressing themselves. But, once you put something on paper and then you come back to it again, you are able to see yourself from that vantage point that I spoke about earlier. You get a bird's eye view of this person who is yourself.
Tom, what was the first time that you got this 360-degree view?
I think the first time that I got the 360 view in a real pragmatic sense was when I climbed to the top of the Delaware Water Gap and looked out and saw the beauty of these 2 huge mountains coming together with the river passing through it, and felt a sense, and this was at the age of 35, that this was what life was, climbing to a place and looking at it and seeing some beauty in it. So at 35, I began to climb to a place in my own life where I could look at my family, the work that I was doing, and try to sense, how does it all fit together, you know? And so I think I made that jump at 35, and when I did, I brought it into every aspect of my life, my writing, my career, my family.
Are you living your life's purpose, Tom?
I am absolutely living my purpose.
And what's next for you?
What's next for me is beyond my comprehension. You know, I don't know that, but I pay attention to the pulse of things. I watch what's going on around, and I'll wait for whatever comes down the pike, and I'll find a way to integrate it into my life.
And what are you most grateful for right now in this moment?
I think having been given the opportunity to understand that there are no guarantees in life, that today could be my last day or anybody's last day, and that I should not allow a barrier to stand between myself and what I want to do. I have a mug sitting on my desk with John Wayne on it, and on the back side of the mug it says, "Courage is knowing that things are going to be impossible and saddling up anyway."
So how can our audience find out more information about Lighthouse Hospice?
They can call 888-HOSPICE or look